Okay, welcome everybody to a new sort of segment that I'm calling Magic Musings. Just got a few things I wanted to chat about. I don't know if people like these podcast style episodes, but I like rambling on about magic, and if people want to tune in, then that's really good, and always good to hear comments and things. So yeah, thought I'd make this. It's not going to be a too regular thing, just when sort of big events are happening or what have you. Got something that just want to ramble on about. So let me know if you want to hear more of this kind of thing, or if you just want gameplay. Either is fine, or both. So yeah, just the first topic of conversation today is I managed to win an RCQ. So I will be off to Turin next year in March to play in the Standard Regional Championship. I've never actually won a local RCQ before. I've always qualified through sort of bigger events or last chance qualifiers at the venue. But big caveat with this one, it was an 8-player single elimination RCQ on a Tuesday night in Cardiff here in the UK. Shout out to Firestorm Games, big LGS over there. That's really good. And a shout out to Dave as well for running them. But yeah, Tuesday night, 8-player single elimination. Just stores all over the world just haven't been able to get the numbers in for standard. So, they had a kit, they ran it, very little prizing, but very low cost of entry, which is something I quite like. But I did get a load of Shoot the Sheriff promos, so I think they did quite well out of that. And yeah, just couldn't pass up the opportunity to play a Tuesday night RCQ. And yeah, the caveat continues because I played 2 matches, managed to win 2 matches, and then my opponent in the finals didn't want to go to the regional championship, so scooped to me. And yeah, that qualified me. So it's one of the classic stories of win 2 matches, split the finals, managed to qualify. But I mean, it's hard to judge how the deck was. This is the deck I played, by the way. It's VV-less VV, also known as Blue-Red Cards I Own. It is a real deck. I've seen quite quite a few is over-egging it, but seen several people online running this sort of list, not bothering with VV and just running the busted Is It cards. So again, few caveats here. I don't have 2 cauldrons, but I feel like I wanted to side them out in a lot of matchups. So running one, I can borrow one or I'll get my hands on another one if I want to play this again. So I ran one of those. I swore I'd bought enough Storm Chasers talent. I meant to run 3, but I ran 1 because that's all I had. And I only ran 2 Riverpire Verges. That should be the full 4. I replaced the extra 2 with an extra couple of basics, and then replaced a lot of the lists online are running sort of 2 cauldrons, 3 talents. So I just went up. I went up on an Abrade because I thought a lot of people would be playing VV, and that card's good there. I played a Spyglass Siren, which isn't great, but I wanted something with Storm Chasers. With Storm Chasers talent, the reason it's so good is it's good early. It makes an otter that can grow quite large, and then late you can just buy back instants and sorceries, and then the final, what they call level, just kind of wins the game. See if I can get this to stay on screen here. So yeah, you can buy back an instant or sorcery, and then the level 3 is whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you make one of the otters. But the other interesting thing with Storm Chasers talent is you can sacrifice either part, so either the enchantment or the or the token to power up Torch the Tower to deal 3 damage. And running 4 Torch the Towers, and playing a bit online, I really wanted to be able to do that. So yeah, just I ran this as a one-off. it's also an evasive threat that you can put counters on from profts and stuff. So I don't hate it, but Storm Chaser's Talent is definitely the way to go, and I'll be on 3 if I play this deck again. So the idea behind this one, we're not on the whole VV shenanigans. We're just playing, I've called it, is it profts? And I think that's what it's mostly known by. Profts just puts a counter on a creature at the beginning of combat for each card you've drawn that turn above your normal draw step. So you just get out some of these creatures, draw loads of cards with Riddler and Scholar and Winter Night Stories, and just make huge creatures and attack. Go on some tips and tricks in a while, but yeah, ran this, beat a blue-black control deck, and then beat Vivi. So the reason behind this deck is you kind of, against Vivi, you can play this almost sort of tempo Delver style gameplay where our cards are just a little bit less clunky sometimes. You remove some of their pieces, and then just kind of out tempo them. Whereas sometimes they have to spend 3 mana on a VV. They only have one part of it, so that's really good. And with all the extra removal, it seems to have been a little bit better into mono red, but I need to play a bit more. There's a few cool tips and tricks with this deck. So, as I mentioned, Profts puts counters on at the beginning of combat, but if you get double combat phases via a Delirious Fear of Missing Out, it triggers both times. So you can go to combat, put 8 counters or however many cards you've drawn on Fear of Missing Out or another creature, attack, Fear of Missing Out, untap a creature, and then in the beginning of the next combat phase you'll get another 8 counters. Extra good with Steamcore Scholar because it's got Vigilance and Flying, so you put the counters here, attack with both, you can untap another creature and then attack again, and Steamcore Scholar can attack twice because it has Vigilance. Yeah, I went over the Storm Chaser Talent, Torch the Tower shenanigans. 3 of Braids was really, really good. The one of Cauldron did come up. You can exile. I managed to turn 3. My Vivi opponent had gone. They'd done like FOMO, discard Vivi. I managed to go Mako, Cauldron, exile their Vivi, put a counter on my Mako, and then make 2 mana with Vivi's ability on the Mako to cast a Profts, and then it was just such a huge blowout on turn 3. So yeah, and this is good into Sultai. The meta was, a meta of 8 people. I think it was about half Vivi, so do expect a lot of that in the short term. But yeah, I really like the deck. It's one of my choices. So the next subject I was going to sort of ramble on about is there is the Spotlight series in Liverpool coming up. So that is a 3-day event. Lots of stuff. The main event is standard, like a GP. I don't think the attendance is that high just because people don't want to play standard, but I'm going to give it a go. It's been pretty rare that we get GPs here in the UK, so having one is just really, really good. We're actually getting another one sort of May next year as well, which is awesome. But yeah, I'm going to go and play. My plan is there's a modern RCQ on the Friday for Antwerp in a couple of weeks, and then it's the main event on the Saturday, which is standard, and then Sunday if you make day 2 you play standard again, and then there's another RCQ on the Sunday if you don't make it, which is you can either play standard or modern, which was my plan if I don't make day 2, was to go and play in that, but it actually qualifies for Turin, so I don't know, I'll probably still play it if I crash out of the main event, just to get some reps in with modern. So this, in terms of the standard portion, I've been playing a little bit of standard online, going between a few decks, and this is one potential option. I think the deck's pretty good. Well, it's really good. Winter Night Stories is pretty busted. Oh, another trick you can do, by the way, is go if you say on turn 2 discard Winter Night Stories to a Fear of Missing Out, or a what else can it be? Actually, I think that's probably it. Yeah, like Fear of Missing Out, or you can do it at any point. If you have this in the graveyard, you can warp in a Riddler, and then Riddler can tap to make your harmonized Winter Night Stories 1 mana, and then before it warps. So yeah, that is, you pay 1 mana. But you spent a total of 3 mana, and you've drawn 4 cards. So yeah. But yeah, pleased to announce I've bought the the remaining pieces of the deck that I didn't have that I think are better. So yeah, this is an option. Got another week or so to think about it. But the other weird option that I've been actually having a bit of success with is this list. So this is blue-black control. So let me just sort this so we can see the entire deck. So is there anything over here? There is. Okay, so just make it so we can see everything. So list is your kind of classic control deck. We have a lot of removal, a few counters, Essence Scatter, Avert Disaster, a lot of card advantage and Control the Star Charts, and Stock Up. Stock Up's been really impressing me. I know it's been making waves for a while, but it's really good. Some board wipes, and then we have a combo finish, which is you put Doomsday Excruciator onto the field after sort of controlling the game. This is 6 black for when it enters. I don't know why the sort of summary box is not coming up, but it says when it enters, if it was cast, each player exiles all but the bottom 6 cards of their library face down, and then at the beginning of your upkeep you draw a card. So you get to, this resolves, the ability resolves, both you and your opponent go down to 6 cards in library. So you do that, and then the idea is to then follow it up with an attack from Restless Reef to mill your opponent for 4 cards, or cast Outrageous Robbery, which exiles the top X cards of their library, and you can cast them, but you're just using it as a mill spell essentially at that point. So it's like control, cast an Excruciator, 6 cards, and then mill them out. Can win in other ways, so can just attack them to death with Restless Reef, or Quantum Riddler, which we're running 2 of in the main, 2 of in the side. I've beaten them to death with Doomsday Excruciator before. Notably, you get 3 turns because you draw an extra card. So if they're at 18, you just hit them. You can obviously increase that with Restless Reef. There's also I have just value cast Outrageous Robbery and cast my opponent's what's the big Crater Hoof Behemoth, and put that into play and won with that. Turning some of my creatures like Restless Reefs and stuff into 10/10s, or not 10/10s, but bigger with trample. So yeah, I've actually been having quite a lot of success with this online. Again, I own most of the card, own or can borrow most of the cards. Sideboard, you get some more removal, some duresses, some sort of Plan B Gear Hulk and Riddler type stuff. So, and most importantly, this deck has been really fun. I've been really enjoying this. It's something a bit different. I think you sometimes gain percentage points by people not knowing exactly what you're doing. So I don't know. I'm on the fence. It'll be one of these two. But if anyone's got any tips on this one, do let me know. So yeah, that's my plan for the standard portion. So for modern, I am locked into playing Broodscale. I think it's had some good results recently. I've been really enjoying the deck, which is big. So there's a couple of videos on my channel of me playing this. It's going to be something similar to List, but the numbers aren't locked down. I say this all the time, but the reason I'm drawn to a deck like this for a big tournament is I like doing something busted, which is in this case an infinite combo. But I like having backup plans, and this deck has backup plans forever. So obviously the namesake card is Brood-Scale, which when equipped with a Blade of the Bloodchief makes infinite mana, and you can do things with Fleshraker or Ballista or Kozilek's Command. And the Brood-Scale becomes infinite. If you have 2 blades, you can make an infinite number of infinite power Eldrazi spawn. So that's the busted thing. You can do that on turn 3. So yeah, but also there's a lot of other routes to victory. So we are an Urza Saga deck. Make constructs, beat your opponent's death with them. We play quite a lot of artifacts in this one. Fleshraker, you can just storm your opponent sometimes. If you go turn 2 Fleshraker, turn 3 Fleshraker, and then a load of 1-drops or, rumbles and things, you just kind of storm them out and do it that way without the need for Brood-Scale or anything. We run 3 copies of Emrakul the Promised End. This was the key card from Eldrazi Ramp that they used to ramp into, but we ramp into it probably just as quickly, if I'm honest, because we have Urza Saga in the deck, which adds enchantment more easily. I suppose they do have the Utopia Sprawls that they can mill over with Rumble, but we don't have then to draw things like Utopia Sprawl, which I really like. And then we have some other big Eldrazi, but running like 2 Mycospawn here. We've got 4 Devourer of Destiny. So lots of that. We've got possibly the 2 best cantrips in Modern. Ancient Stirrings looks at 5 cards to find a colourless card. The only thing this cannot find in the deck is another Stirrings or a Rumble. And then Rumble finds just a permanent, which again is a lot of stuff here. Can't find itself for a Stirrings or a Kozilek's Command, but anything else it can find. And it makes the all-important spawn. So really liking this deck. I've been having success with it online. So the changes I want to make, I wonder if I've got a different version. That was someone else's version. It's reset as well. The changes that I'm looking to make are, I don't think I want to play the Walking Ballista. I think it's very good if you expect a lot of Boros energy, because Walking Ballista equipped with a Blade of the Bloodchief is able to just machine gun down a lot of stuff, but it's just a bit slow. It is another win con with infinite mana, but we have enough of those. So I think I'm going to cut that. I'm considering cutting Springleaf Drum, although I have been liking that. So those 2 are kind of flexible. I think everything else is pretty set. Mycospawn could be Thought Not Seer. I've seen lists with those. But I quite like Mycospawn, especially since it's able to get us some of our lands, like Cavern of Souls, into control and things. More Urza Sagas. Just gives you an extra plan. Although I do really like Thought Not Seer as well, just because it's essentially Thought Not Seer reads check and see if your opponent has Consign to Memory in their hand. So yeah. So the other things I'd quite like to make room for are extra copies of Vexing Bauble. We saw the winner of the Mox playing 4 Vexing Bauble in the main. It's just good in the meta. Affinity is popular at the moment, and turn 1 this stops them going, Memnite, all of those style cards, Memnite explosives, and just going off. Mox Opal, it shuts off. So it's really good against Belcher, stops the suspended Lotus Bloom, stops their free counter spells against control. It's really good. Stops Force Negation Subtlety against Blink. Again, it stops Solitude. So card's really good. And if it's not, pay 1, draw a card. So yeah, interested in more of those. Definitely between the main and the side. And potentially more lands. Like I could see maybe another land going up to 23, either another Besage or another Cavern of Souls. I think I do want access to 2 Cavern of Souls, so maybe an extra one in the sideboard. And then, having played with this a bit, I think I want to change. I don't think Sire of Seven Death is worth it anymore. Again, I think this was mostly against energy. So those are definitely coming out. I don't think Pick Your Poison is necessarily that good. I'd rather have something like Nature's Claim possibly, or Wastegate Battle Mage. Thief Existence is really good. Again, this card is often exile target Khan the Great Creator. Dismember I could see going up to 3. I could see putting Thought-Knot on the board. I could see putting Cavern of Souls on the board. There's an extra Vexing Bauble here at the moment. I want at least 3 between main and side, maybe 4. Damping Sphere is good against Storm. Warping Wells really impressed me as well. So this card does a lot of stuff. So it's 1 and a colourless. You can exile a creature with power or toughness 1 or less, which is quite a lot in Modern. Ragavan, Ocelot Pride, Guide of Souls, quite a lot of stuff. So that's pretty good. It can create a 1/1 Scion, which is ramp, and it's also very good out of nowhere if your opponent's doing maths and trying to work out how much mana you need to go off with Brood Scale, and they don't think you've got enough, and then you do that, and then next turn go off. And the token can kickstart the combo as well. Notably, it is a Scion, so it's a 1/1. It doesn't usually matter, apart from having to pack an extra token in my deck box. The other mode is counter target sorcery spell. So there are some powerful sorceries in Modern. Sometimes you'll use it to counter a Thoughtseize that's going after, your Emrakul or your Kozilek's Command or whatever. Sometimes you'll counter a Rumble from the Mirror, or from Titan, or I don't know if I bring it in against Titan. Well, probably, given they have Scape Shift. It counters the reanimation spells like Persist sometimes. So yeah, but another key card that it counters is Wrath of the Skies. And Pest Control. So we're not completely dead to those. The reason I didn't pick up this deck for a while was I thought we were really cold to Wrath of the Skies. But we can rebuild really quite quickly, and sometimes like I say, we're on a different plan. We play a load of forests and then go or lands that don't get destroyed by Wrath of the Skies, just Emrakul them, or Fleshraker's 3 mana, so it's harder to Wrath. So yeah, but I think Warping Well has been really good for me. Other considerations, I'm playing 5 forests here, which I have been a fan of, but I think I might go down to 4. I think that's where I'll find room for another Boseiju or Cavern. Probably Boseiju. So yeah, the only other point I would say is that this is mono green. There is also the Gruul variant, which adds red for some sideboard cards, and most importantly, you get Writhing Chrysalis in the main, which, if anyone played any Modern Horizons 3 draft or sealed or whatever, that card was insane in that. And it turns out it's really, really good in Modern. I think it came, someone in Eldrazi Ramp started running it, and then all of a sudden it was 4 of. But I'm not convinced on that, because again, the red, it does come as a cost. You need to cast that spell, Chrysalis. You need 2 coloured mana sources, which isn't always doable between your labyrinths and your temples and whatever, your sagas. It also runs a lot of red stuff in the sideboard, which was largely I think probably for Boros again, so I'm not too convinced on that. So yeah, I'm pretty much sold on mono green, but I could be persuaded last minute. I probably shouldn't be, but it'll be something very similar to this, just with some changes. Another card that I did actually manage to pick up, but I'm not a big fan of, is Spider Punk. I'm not going to show it here, but it's essentially a 1 and a red for, I don't know how big the creature is, honestly. It has Riot and some other text that doesn't matter, but the text that does matter is I think it's creature spells and abilities cannot be countered. So again, it's an anti consigned to memory card, but you got to find it. Stirrings doesn't find it. You can find it with Rumble. Yeah, I don't think I'm sold on that, but need to have another look at the lists from the recent RC as well, because that put, I think, a couple of brood scale players into the top sort of 24. So do a bit of looking at those, but yeah, so that's my plans. So yeah, Friday we'll be playing this, Saturday we'll be playing standard at some point, and then Sunday, fingers crossed, I'll be playing standard if I day 2. If not, I'll probably get the reps in, because then a couple of weeks after is Antwerp, which is the regional championship here in Europe, Antwerp in Belgium, which is modern constructed. I'm not actually qualified, but there's a qualifier on, like I say, on Friday at Liverpool, but I'm going over to play the RCQs anyway. So try and qualify there, and yeah, and again there will be a RCQ on the Sunday, but again that'll be for Turin, so I might not bother with that one. But yeah, friends are qualified, so gonna go and do that. But so yeah, that's the plans, and then it'll be looking at Turin next year. But I expect standard to be in a different place by then. There's a lot of speculation on bans. I mean, VV's definitely going, but I could see them doing another shake up with 5 or 6. I mean, going back to the blue-red deck that I was on about, this is a different version, but I could see them hitting Profts, just insane. I could see them hitting Winter Night Stories. Yeah, I could see them hitting Cauldron, anything like that. So yeah, just have to wait and see. But just on the final note, I think if anyone's considering going to these bigger tournaments like the Spotlight Series, I'd highly recommend it. I'll have a video probably just wrapping up how it's been in the next couple of weeks after the event. So do let me know if that's something you want to see, or what sort of content you want to see from that. I like rambling about them; they're really fun. And if anyone's wondering about going, do feel free to ask any questions you might have in the comments below. There's lots going on, lots of, it's not just the main event. There's lots of on-demand events, drafts. There's loads of vendors there that you can buy and sell cards to. So yeah, really, really good events. So let me know if you're going to Liverpool, Antwerp. Let me know if you've got any questions about the tournaments, any suggestions for what to play. But yeah, hope you enjoyed that, my sort of magic musings. And yeah, I'll see you again soon. Cheers.